Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. A massive congratulations to all of you out there who have just graduated and are officially entering the workforce. It's a huge deal. You're stepping into an exciting new chapter. But let's be real, with your first real paychecks comes a very real danger, and that's lifestyle creep. So today we're treating this as a hands-on workshop to help you master your money before it masters you. We're going to build a complete step-by-step guide for your personal finances and hopefully completely change the way you view that money hitting your bank account.
All right, let's just dive right into our roadmap for today. First up, we'll shatter the money illusion. Then we'll confront the ostrich effect, audit your consumption, build a safety net, and finally, look at scaling your production.
Starting off with Section 1, the money illusion. Let's tackle a massive misconception about what it actually means to be wealthy versus just having a high income.
$30 million. Think about that for a second. That is literally the exact amount of debt that professional heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson had when he filed for bankruptcy back in 2003. Now, why does this matter for us? Well, because over the course of his career, he had accumulated over $300 million. This brilliantly illustrates a vital point for you as you start your careers. Generating a massive income means absolutely nothing if your ability to manage it is totally broken.
To stop making emotional financial mistakes, we have got to redefine what money actually is. We hear the phrase all the time, right? Money is the root of all evil. But honestly, that gives money a moral significance it just doesn't possess. Money is entirely neutral. It is simply an expression of perceived value. Whether you're buying something online or getting paid at your brand new job, that transaction happens strictly because of perceived value. Seeing money as a tool that opens options and broadens your horizons rather than something inherently evil is absolutely crucial. It's your first step to financial clarity.
So the whole thing really boils down to balancing two fundamental forces: production versus consumption. This is the ultimate relationship you have with money. Money enters your life because you produce value. For most of us, right out of school, that's your labor at a job. And then money leaves your life when you consume something: rent, a new car, grabbing takeout, or a streaming subscription. Your net worth is entirely determined by this giant seesaw.
Moving right along to Section 2, confronting the ostrich effect. We need to look closely at the consumption side of that seesaw.
Because even a six-figure salary won't save you if your consumption is completely out of whack. Get this, a fascinating study actually showed that 1 in 10 American workers making over $100,000 a year is still living paycheck to paycheck. How does that even happen? Well, behavioral finance points to our cognitive biases, specifically something called the ostrich effect. This is our psychological tendency to just avoid negative financial information altogether. You know that pit in your stomach when you refuse to open your banking app after a long weekend out with friends? Yep, that's the one. We bury our heads in the sand to avoid the reality of our own spending habits.
And right alongside the ostrich effect is another tricky cognitive bias: social proof. This is the classic keeping up with the Joneses. Our neighbors or our friends buy a nice new car or expensive clothes, and we feel this deep underlying social pressure to do the exact same thing so we aren't outdone. And in today's digital world, the Joneses aren't just next door. They are literally constantly in our social media feeds. The result? We end up consuming recklessly, measuring our self-worth by social approval rather than actual solid financial stability. I want you to seriously pause and reflect on this for a second. Ask yourself, do you care more about appearing as though you have money or actually having it? Sacrificing your real long-term life goals just to fund a materialistic illusion for everyone else is a trap you have to actively avoid right now as you start making real money.
Okay, Section 3, auditing your monthly consumption. Now that we recognize the psychological traps, let's put a practical framework in place. Here is your step-by-step audit. Step 1, journal everything. You must ruthlessly track your money to build an awareness of yourself as a consumer. Step 2, set categorical budgets. Decide exactly what you want to spend in advance. Step 3, systematically minimize those non-essentials. And Step 4, live below your means, which simply means engineering a lifestyle that actually leaves you with enough money left over to save and invest. To get the ball rolling, you can use a checklist to categorize every single dollar leaving your account into buckets. We're talking housing, transportation, food, utilities, and entertainment. And hey, this isn't about stripping all the joy from your life. It's just about making conscious choices rather than letting your hard-earned money evaporate completely unconsciously.
You know, you'll constantly hear people online saying that working a 9-to-5 job is the rat race.
usually right before they try to sell you some sort of course. But honestly, that's incredibly unfair to people who genuinely love their careers. The real rat race is living on a financial edge. It's the exhausting mental turmoil of being exactly one paycheck away from broke, where your job is no longer a choice, but a desperate necessity just to keep funding an inflated lifestyle.
Which brings us to Section 4, Building an Emergency Fund. Before we talk about making more money or investing, we have to talk about defense.
Once you've audited your spending and you're finally living below your means, your absolute first financial goal is reaching a critical milestone, a safety net containing 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. Why? Because life happens. An unexpected medical bill, a sudden job loss, or your car totally breaking down can throw your entire financial position into chaos if you're living on the edge. Saving aggressively for this fund buys you the ultimate luxury, peace of mind.
And finally, Section 5, Increasing your value production. Because once your consumption is controlled and your safety net is locked in, you've got to switch from playing defense to playing offense. A lot of personal finance advice focuses heavily on frugality. Cutting coupons, skipping your morning coffee, embracing extreme minimalism. And while living frugally is a great starting point for anyone, there was a hard, mathematical limit to how much you can shrink your life. You can only cut your expenses down to 0. But your ability to produce value, that scales exponentially. The wealthiest people out there don't get rich just by saving pennies. They do it by producing value at an incredible scale.
There's a really simple wealth equation you need to understand. True value production in the modern market basically comes down to 3 steps. Find a problem, create a solution, and then sell that solution at scale. When you can produce value massively, the production side of your equation absolutely dwarfs your consumption side.
So how exactly do you pull that off? Well, you need a vehicle. Entrepreneurship and starting a massive business is one vehicle for sure, but it's not the only one. You could build software or an app. You could dive into digital media, like launching a YouTube channel to educate or entertain millions. Or, honestly, for those of you just graduating, your vehicle can absolutely be your standard 9-to-5 job. If you become exceptionally skilled, solve major headaches for your company, and make yourself undeniably valuable, your earning potential is going to skyrocket.
At the end of the day, escaping the financial edge isn't some secret magic trick. It's about taking action. It's auditing what you consume, overcoming that intense social pressure to spend recklessly, and then maximizing what you produce. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to take with you into your brand new careers. What unique value will you produce for the market tomorrow? Think about how you can shift your entire mindset away from what you can buy and toward what you can build. Good luck out there, and thanks so much for joining this explainer.